Welcome to Building Resilience with Disability Network Southwest Michigan. Ann Kooy, Independent Living Specialist. Contact information: Kooy, Kooya, at dnswm.org. Phone number 269-345-1516, extension 109. Paving the Way to Self-Determination is a collaboration with the Michigan Developmental Disabilities Council, ARC Michigan, Michigan Alliance for Families, and Charting the Life course. It is made possible through funding from the Michigan Developmental Disabilities Council. What is a disability? A physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. What is a developmental disability? Any disability that is acquired prior to the age of 22 and substantially limits one or more major life activities. The contents of this material are for informational purposes only and are not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, diagnostic, or treatment. This material does not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always ask the advice of your physician or qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. The resources shared are not considered full endorsement of those individuals or their agents by today's presenters. What we hope to cover in today's training: what is resilience? Why should we care? Who needs it and some science to back it up? How do we get it? Some more science. When and where? Provide support strategies and resources to grow skills. And hopefully we'll have some time for questions and reflection. What is it? Defining resilience: the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness, or involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that can be learned and developed by anyone.
In thinking about defining resilience, it may be helpful to picture something in your mind. When it comes to this idea of bouncing back, most people are familiar with the analogy of the rubber ball. It hits the floor and boing, it goes right back up. And there's another way to think about it. Here we invite you to view a short clip by the acrobatic troupe Pneumatics. As you're viewing these athletes flying through the air, what allows them to do this with the greatest of ease? Displaying such confidence, control, athleticism, making these stunning jumps and connections with one another. Well, it took a lot of practice, a lot of repetition, and building on skills they had already acquired. The knowledge that there was a big, fat safety net when they fell many times during practice was also very helpful in their ability to build resilience. In building resilience, it's important to provide lots of opportunities to practice skills, and our homes provide that safety net that allows our children to do something a little scary, and knowing that if they fail, it's okay. There's a big safety net that will help them bounce back.
Why we care: the resilience goal. As we raise children, our goal has to be to prepare children to be happy 35-year-olds. So what do we see here? What kinds of ingredients go into making a pan of brownies? There's 1,000 ways to do it, but there's some basic ingredients: flour, butter, cocoa, milk. We could swap some ingredients out for allergens or to make healthier options. So some modifications could include black beans, avocados, applesauce, and all different kinds of flours. But there are some basic components or essential ingredients needed when it comes to biting into that delicious thing we all kind of sort of agree to be a brownie. Here we have some essential ingredients, the 7 C's according to Dr. Ginsburg, that go into helping our children become more resilient. the things that make us capable of springing back after a disappointment or failure, helping them be ready to take on a challenge. Number 1, connection. Number 2, confidence. Number 3, competence. Number 4, character. Number 5, contribution. Number 6, coping. And number 7, control.
According to Dr. Ginsburg, all these ingredients are both integral and interrelated components that increase resiliency. So another way of picturing resiliency is to have the ability to shake things off, like a form of protection. Kind of like this chain link armor pictured in this slide. All the components and ingredients of resiliency are needed and overlap to ensure a greater deal of safety. They have some overlap in what they mean, and yet they are separate. For instance, competence and confidence. I can be confident about crossing roads on my own, but I may lack competence to do it safely. So these ingredients include connection. This is a strong sense of belonging. Children with close ties to friends, family, and community groups are more likely to have a strong sense of belonging. These children are also more likely to have strong values and are less likely to seek out alternate destructive behaviors. Confidence. This is a belief in one's own abilities. Believing in one's own abilities is rooted in competence. Children gain confidence by being able to demonstrate their real competence in real situations. It's similar to competence, but different. I can feel confident, like I said before, about being able to cross the street on my own, but maybe I'm not competent in it yet. So closely related, competence is the ability to know how to handle and be responsible in stressful situations effectively. This requires having the skills to face challenges. You need to have the opportunity to practice these skills so that you can feel competent in dealing with situations. Character. Having a strong sense of what is right and wrong, and being prepared to make wise choices. Children with character enjoy a strong sense of self-worth and confidence. They are in touch with their values and are comfortable sticking to them. They can demonstrate a caring attitude towards others. They have a drive to contribute to the world. Then there's contribution. This is knowing that the world is a better place because we are in it. Your child will know their actions and choices improve things. Acknowledgement of a child's contribution. Having them hear the thank yous and feel appreciated when they contribute will increase their willingness to take actions and make choices that will improve the world. This is how they enhance their own competence, character, and sense of connection. If children can experience personally contributing to the world, they can learn a powerful lesson that the world is better because they are in it. Their actions and choices can improve things. Coping. This is prepared to overcome life's challenges. Those children who have a wide repertoire of coping skills, such as social skills, stress reduction skills, are able to cope more effectively and are better able to be resilient. And then the last ingredient is control. This could be thought of as agency. When children realize that they have control over their decisions and actions, they are more likely to know how to make choices in a way where they are able to bounce back from life's challenges.
On this slide, we encourage you to find out the how, when, and where by viewing this video, The Center on the Developing Child, from Harvard University. So what did the video tell us? It said that 3 factors for improving outcomes include responsive relationships, reducing stress, and strengthening core skills, developed over time through practice and feedback.
In thinking about helping our children towards resilience, it's helpful to think about normal development and how this might be displayed in nature. we invite you to view 2 short video clips, one on how a snowflake is formed, another on how a seed becomes a plant. Skills are rooted in experiences. Like a snowflake, all that is needed is a speck of dust. That would be our experience. And then the right conditions. This would be how we interact with our environment. And then the skill grows from that entry point and the real life experiences. Our brain's cells, or the neurons, make connections and pathways through infinite interactions with the environment. We have learned that humans need lots of practice and repetition with a lot of time for reflection. And this time we think of as growth. We'd love it if it was just linear and straight. But organic growth, like this last picture with the arrow and lots of curlicues, is how it often happens with living things. As illustrated in so much of nature, real growth is not linear. Like the life of a seed, it's sometimes a little bit forward and a little bit backward. The shoots might grow to the side, the root might go down and then forward, a little bit back. This is how real growth and real learning occurs. We need to be able to provide the time and the patience it takes for real growth to occur and real skills to be acquired.
So, as adults, what are some things that we can do? We can attend to the environment and we can coach to build skills. So, when we're talking about attending to the environment, we mean observe and notice, modify, designate, simplify with routine and ritual, think basics, sleep, diet, hydration, movement, and be aware of media and inputs. When we're coaching to build skills, we can observe and notice, build on what's already present, breaking things down, start together, teach emotions, make it fun, serve and return, model self-care. And this is one of my favorite quotes. Every time you do someone's job, you teach them that you'll do their job. Maria Montessori also said, "Never help a child with a task at which he feels he can succeed."
Here we have pictured 2 ladders, one with many rungs close together and a little man near the clouds, another with rungs far apart and a human figure still on the ground, arms up, unable to even reach the first rung of the ladder. The words next to this say the importance of smaller steps. The implication of this graphic is that if we break something down into smaller steps, a goal can be obtained. Sometimes this is our biggest task as the adult. We can assist a child in accomplishing what might seem like an impossible task. For instance, in the slide before, a 4-year-old washing his own dish. This is just easier if we break things down and add in extra steps, like the extra rungs on a ladder.
So on this slide, we're talking about making simple modifications. Scale and perspective. We have a picture of a little girl sitting in a little rocking chair that fits her. Accessibility. Could they do it without assistance? There's a picture of a little guy standing on a step stool washing his hands. And designated spaces. Another picture of a little girl hanging up her coat where she can reach. Again, the question is this helping my child to become more dependent or assisting them in independence? Is it exercising practice for control, coping, competence, confidence, connection, character, and contribution?
Another way to reduce stress for our children is helping them with monitoring time. It isn't about getting chores done or going to bed on time. This is about helping a child piece together events that are happening so that they can participate with them instead of just having things happening to them. Understanding time creates agency or a sense of control, one of the 7 C's. Children under the age of 6 are in a sensitive period for order. There is a need for stability in the environment, and this includes time structured around routines. The dependability of routine helps a child feel secure and safe. On this slide, we have 2 visual schedules, one for a morning routine and one for a night routine. Visual schedules are great. Why they work? Children don't yet have the capacity for monitoring the concept of time. This is something our brains piece together after many experiences, which leaves a young child with no reference. And this is something adults can easily forget. Without a firm concept of time, a day may seem like a month. You may have heard the phrase, "Are we there yet?" This might feel like the need for attention, but really it's the child's brain still trying to formulate what is time. Can we imagine being stuck in an unpleasant place indefinitely and how frustrating that might get? Remember too that the child, unlike the adult, lacks control over what much of their day will look like and include. As adults, we make decisions about where and what activities to engage in, who will we visit, what is the priority for the evening. A young child usually has no say in any of it. Largely, they are unaware of all the factors and variables being balanced. They live in the here and now, which can make transitions quite challenging at times. When we must put on our boots and go home now, daycare is about to close. What qualifies as chaotic is different for an adult versus a child. For instance, it may be normal for an adult one night to be up till 10 p.m. and the next only till 8:40, another until 11 p.m. But this kind of schedule for a young one is probably going to lead to disaster, an emotional tailspin. One solution is providing heads-up warnings. "Ooh, I see you're having so much fun. The bus is going to be leaving in 10 minutes. I'll let you know when it's time to help your friend clean up. It's going to be about 5 minutes from now. You still have plenty of time." Another is to help by trying rituals. This assists the child with sequencing and predictability. First comes this, then comes this, next comes this, and so on. If you've never heard of the Waldorf method, WALDORF, this might be something to look into. This educational method encourages homes to start thinking about starting rituals. That can be as simple as establishing a bedtime ritual. After we eat, then we have a bath. After the bath, pajamas on, grab a teddy, lay in bed. I read a short book, lights go out. Lights out means no getting out of bed. Ritual is largely associated with spiritual practices, but we humans use them for everything. How we approach making brownies, for instance. I might always use the same bowl and spatula. I might always lay out my ingredients first, or I might go down my recipe and hunt through the cabinets as I add each ingredient in. The purpose of ritual is to ensure we're not missing steps, and it's a balance to ensure our rituals don't become too rigid. Establish predictability first. This allows for variation later. Because we do live in a chaotic world, the goal is to bring children into the anticipation and planning so that things are not just happening to them, but they are participating in the process. Another way that we can help our child is to get back to the basics. First on the list is sleep. If we had a pill which would reduce anxiety, depression, and also decreased instances of cancer, flu, obesity, diabetes, stroke, heart attack, developing dementia, and Alzheimer's, don't you think we might try it? What if it also increased our mental health and enhanced our thinking and memory overall? Encouraging good sleep hygiene will ensure that our children have these advantages. Sleep studies have just started happening for pediatrics, but there's been an overwhelming amount of evidence in the adult population to know that sleep goes hand in hand with habits and good time management. So it makes sense to encourage good sleep habits for our children. As adults, we can assist them with this. The next on the list is diet. Diet, again, goes hand in hand with routines. Stable blood sugars enable crucial thinking, emotional regulation, and overall good health outcomes. And healthy eating habits are hard to undo. We know our brains need protein to grow. But in thinking about developmental disabilities, sometimes the feeling of being overfull or underfull can be a coping mechanism for uncomfortable feelings like anxiety or depression. It's crucial to understand that picky eating is not always about food. We encourage you to check out a TED Talk by Katie Kimball. It's entitled, "Picky Eating Isn't About the Food." She talks about the 5 P's. Those include our palate, or the physical structure of our mouth, throat, and our mouth cavity. Pain, so that could include issues like constipation. Processing, knowing that 5 to 15% of kids have some sort of processing disorder. Eating incorporates all of our senses, so it's hard to sort out all of those different things going on all around us. Pressure, so this might be emotional pressure that we put on the child, insisting they finish a plate when they're beyond full, or not noticing symptoms of hunger in our child, such as their irritability, crying, and regression. And overall power issues, so being over-accommodated or overly insistent. These can all go into issues with food. And if your child is experiencing a limited food diet, that's like less than 20 foods that they will allow inside their mouth, it would really be something to investigate, maybe talking with an OT and helping them through some of their sensory integration. Next on the list is hydration. Humans are 2/3 water, and the science now is stating that for children that come from difficult places, the first intervention that should be made is encouraging drinking water. Simply helping our children to stay hydrated can help them maintain their emotional regulation, and this increases their sense of agency, of course. So our ability to communicate and reason decreases without proper amounts of water. Encourage drinking between meals and during transitions, like in the car together. You can model this by having your own water bottle and taking sips out of it, and having a designated water bottle for your own child. Remembering that juice and milk both contain sugar, and these liquids can actually dehydrate. Really encourage just simple water. The last on the list for back to the basics is movement. At different ages and different stages, our child should be able to do certain tasks. But with developmental differences, those tasks can be hampered, and they may need to work with an OT. Body awareness and movement include physical, tactile, visual, oral, and auditory activities.
Next, we're going to talk about social media. The average child is spending 2 hours and 29 minutes on social media sites. For ages 8 to 12, there has been a 17% increase in the last 4 years. Why does this matter?
When thinking about social media and its inputs, we have to remember that what is projected in social media is not the entire story. And we need our children to be brought into this awareness. That is part of critical thinking. While it's normal for people to compare themselves to others, in the world of social media, that comparison can often get very skewed. On the left is a picture of an apple looking at itself in the mirror. What it sees in the mirror looks great, but as the viewer on the back side of the apple, we can see a large bite taken out. And so, what is often projected in social media is not always the truth. On the right is a picture of blocks that can read either fake or fact. It's just a simple manipulation that can change the word completely. In the world of social media, there is 15 seconds of perfection, which is an illusion. And our children have to understand this. As adults, that's part of our job. Social media can also put our children at risk. And as parents with children with developmental disabilities, it's important to remember that our children, who may have multiple, and especially any with intellectual, should be made aware of. It's a sad truth that persons with disabilities run much greater statistically at risk for all kinds of abuse throughout their lifetime. So, one of the ways we can counter this is with practicing everyday consent. And this entails us modeling, but also asking for consent every time we touch another. Every time. This goes for hugs and even a hand on the shoulder. For instance, is it all right if I hug you right now? Never force a child to hug or kiss anyone, even a relative, even grandma. You may know a person from the school that you went to, but they don't. And so we should never ask our child to be affectionate with someone we don't, if we don't ask for permission first. This may be met with some social resistance, but we need to keep that long-term picture in mind. We want our children to be competent, capable adults. This means respecting privacy. In regards to dressing, toileting, and tasks for daily living, we have to know that it's going to translate well into other settings. So for instance, leaving our bathroom door open when someone is bathing. It may be more convenient for us, but in the long term, this may backfire. Think about also as we acquire services for our children in other settings and working with professionals like therapists and other coaches. We want to be aware of high compliance models. This is where a reward is given by defaulting self-will to just passively accepting demands of those in authority. So why would that be a problem? Well, in teaching passivity, accepting another's demands and ignoring our own sense of self-rule, it might be problematic as we become an adult who lives in an AFC, for instance. What if a staff member makes an inappropriate advance? If we are teaching our children to always comply with authority, this could be very problematic later in life.
So back to skill building. This is the idea of going over the same steps over and over again that gets our brain wired for operating competently and with confidence and with control. Here's a photo of a path in the woods. It's the picture neuroscientists like Dr. Peter Siegel used to explain how our brains build up resilience over time. It works for any skill, really. Our go-to behaviors happen through making neural pathways, connections, or channels within our brain. When we encounter a new problem, like learning to walk or ride a bike for the first time, our brain tries to make a series of steps that create the outcome or solution that will work for or do the job for us. There's a trial and error phase where our muscles and memory take in feedback, process, and then refine to make that solution work better. Over time, the more times our brain works through the same steps, A pathway in the brain's circuitry becomes like this path in the woods. We travel it enough, and there starts to be an easy route to follow. The more we travel it, the easier it is to travel. The more efficient it is to go along it and to get where or what we want to do. At first, it's hard work, but later, it kind of just happens without us really thinking about it. This is sometimes referred to as our default mode. The default mode saves time and energy, so skills that are practiced in the home, within a circle of safety, the people who love us and that we can trust the most, can translate to outside our safe cocoons. It becomes the go-to, staying positive, problem solving, looking for solutions, feeling competent, having confidence, and being in control. All those 7 C's we discussed earlier. Like those acrobats, it takes a safety net, lots of practice and repetition. It also requires a good coach.
Pictured on the screen are 2 examples of different kinds of coaches, a piano teacher and a little league coach. Skills need coaching. That's intentional strategic building up of the skills that somebody already possesses. And good coaches can save us time and injury. Notice in the picture of the little boy playing piano, his teacher has her hands situated right on his hips. This is teaching him good posture, which will save him injury later in life. And notice the picture of the Little League runner. His coach is pointing and probably shouting, encouraging him to do his best. As much as we wish it weren't true, we don't just grow out of bad habits, and we won't just grow into good ones either. We need to build on what your child already possesses. So it's important to think about what they already excel at, all the things they already do so well. The third picture on the screen is of a shiny penny on the ground. The idea here is many times we pass by pennies all the time. And many times we're so focused on the things we need to improve on for our children, we forget to look for the things they're already doing so well. Just like we pass by those pennies on the ground. Once we start looking for a penny, though, we might start seeing many others. And once we start looking for our child's strengths, we'll start noticing them, and so that we can affirm them. A coach does sometimes need to correct and provide some critique. So teaching your child what is feedback is very helpful. Knowing the difference between information that is meant to build skills, which can build them up, and criticism, which can tear them down. And also trying to keep in mind how we model receiving feedback too. How do we respond when somebody has something maybe negative to share with us? As a coach, it's also important to remember that the goal while working with our children is to get them to participate. It's not always perfection in executing the task. So we can help instill confidence with delegating just a portion of a task or a chore or a job, giving them just a little bit of that responsibility. Think back on the ladder and remember that you might need to break things down a bit. The idea is that you can bestow a responsibility and state to your child while walking away, I know you can handle it, with confidence, so that they can keep building those skills. A job might include something like folding laundry. A 2-year-old isn't capable of folding all the laundry, but they could be taught to fold washcloths. A family project might be deep cleaning a room of the house together or doing yard work. So instead of just doing this all by yourself, which would be more efficient, you might include your child with an age-appropriate job or responsibility in the work, like placing loose items in the container or giving them a child-sized rake for taking over a small corner of the yard. The portion of work that the child is responsible for will build their awareness of agency and increase their confidence.
A great place to think about coaching children through is to start with emotions. Teach emotion naming words to young children, knowing and understanding the words for different emotions. Silliness, sadness, and anger might all look the same, but they have very different motivations. Understanding what our body is telling us by how it feels. An increased heart rate and sweating can feel the same for both happiness and anger. Emotions can be complex. Being able to communicate them is part of passing the baton on from co-regulation, which is the job of the safe adult, to self-regulation, a child that is equipped for resiliency. We can talk through sensations of the body versus what is an emotional word. I feel hot, and then connect that to the emotion. I am angry, or I feel anxious. Validation itself can assist with regulation. You are really upset, and it's okay to be upset. Connect before you correct. When we think about coaching, remember we talked about the part of the job that involves providing some correction? Feedback that may be perceived as negative or as unwelcomed. One rule to remember is that you can't input until you've ensured that you're connecting well first. Recall how frustrating it is when your phone is about to die and you're at a friend's house in the car. Whenever you ask for a charging cord but it doesn't fit, you can't charge a battery without a good connector. And there's lots of different kinds of cords and adapters. The child, as any human really, is the same. You cannot provide input unless you've assured that you're connecting well. So we practice connecting before you correct.
In thinking about connection, here's a good resource, Hand in Hand Parenting. They recommend 5 different opportunities. The first is the importance of play. And I wish I could spend an entire hour talking about this. But one thing to think and keep in mind is that play shouldn't be thought of as an icing on the cake or something extra added in for good behavior or to be taken away for being bad. Play isn't a privilege. Play is fundamentally how we first start learning. So it makes sense if we want to connect with our child that we start learning how to play. An infant learns that they can gain attention just as easily through giggling and laughter as through crying. And through play, children can try things out safely. Think about that net below the acrobats, our safe cocoon. By making something a game, this provides a bit of a challenge, and it adds an element of fun. So sing a song together, keep a sense of humor, and be silly. Staying playful and laughing with your child is okay, and it provides a safe place for their brains to grow. A place where it's okay to make some mistakes. Games are supposed to be temporary, voluntary, and enjoyable. We can practice together without negative consequences. Another place to connect is through special time. Just ensure that it is one-on-one, and this can be challenging if you have more than one child. But it doesn't have to be for long. Just keeping it in mind as a coach that you want to be able to connect one-on-one with your child. Maybe for 5 minutes, maybe for 8 minutes, maybe for an hour, once a week, once a day. Just ensure that you're doing that. The next is listening. And this can mean without instruction. So a good link for you maybe would be to check out Brene Brown's Empathy Talk. It's available on TED, and we would just recommend that you check that out. The idea of listening without inputting your own opinions or corrections. This isn't going to be all the time, but it's one way to connect with your child. The next would be setting limits, and that can be challenging as well. We have several resources which we've included in this conversation, and we just recommend that you look them up. But one thing to think about is not removing your child from your presence or punishing them with isolation. And that might be different than how you were raised. So check out those resources and think about connection, setting limits without isolation, staying connected. The last thing to think about is listening partnerships. Consider having a mentor or support group. Here's an excellent opportunity for you to check out Michigan Alliance for Families, who can connect you with a local partner, and Charting the Life course trainer. Or you could just Google other parents and groups that have things in common with your family. The best coaches study hard. They know their players, but they also study other coaches and those other coaches' players. They tap resources, they find specialists, athletic trainers, physical therapists, PR consultants, HR accountants, etc. They know they cannot do it all, but they also know ultimately that even if a player doesn't do what they're supposed to do, the coach is in charge. So the coach casts the intention. They create the hype and the motivation. They see the potential and they hold a lot of power. You, as a primary caregiver, hold a lot of power. If you've ever flown, you know the spiel that the flight attendant runs through it about the oxygen mask. And if you've ever been around the mental health realm, you might have heard that analogy too. The idea is, before you can attend to the need of others, you need to assure that you've got your own primary needs addressed first. If you don't, well, you're not going to be any help to anybody. Not your child, not a fellow traveler. In fact, you're probably going to need a lot of help yourself. So, in thinking about all the things it takes to be a good coach, remember that you need to practice these resilient tools for yourself. Someone once said, being a parent is like jumping out of a plane with a bunch of people who don't know how to open their own chutes, so you fly around doing it for them. Then you hit the ground, but you don't die. You get up and cook dinner.
We're going to dive into some more tools to help you explore filling your own bucket. Take note that some of these tools may work for you and may not be effective for your child, and they may be effective for your child and they may not work for you. The first one is self-compassion. Having the same love and compassion that you have for other people on yourself. Practicing mindfulness. This is being mindful of what's happening around you. Even just stopping for a few minutes in the morning while brushing your teeth to feel the bristles on your teeth or the water on your head in the shower. Practicing gratitude daily. Being grateful for things like having a bed to sleep in or having shoes to put on your feet. Practicing optimism and seeing the best in everything. And having grit, perseverance of effort. Like we've mentioned in many previous slides, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Here are some support strategies for resiliency. Granting yourself permission to take care of yourself. Here we're thinking about quality, not quantity. Sometimes less is more. Self-care is more than a bubble bath, a nap, or a yoga session. It's about setting a concrete intention to nurture our inner world for optimal psychological health. Rather than depleting your well, explore what options sustain you and even reset your inner balance. A quote by Susan McIntyre. Simple ideas for self-care might include spending 5 minutes in your car with just you and a cup of coffee. Mindful breathing. Exercise. It doesn't have to be a full 40 minutes, but maybe some cardio or gentle stretching. Talking with a friend. Meditation or journaling. And rest. There are different kinds of rest that you may or may not have heard of. Physical rest, as in sleeping. Mental rest, taking a break, decompressing, and turning your brain off. Sensory rest, closing your eyes, taking time away from electronics. Emotional rest, taking a break from saying yes to everything and everyone. Creative rest, give your creative mind a rest by taking a walk or practicing gratitude. Social rest, balancing social interactions, spending more time with people who fill you up. One of the simplest things we can pass on to our children is the reminder to breathe. As we sit here together, you can become conscious of moving air in and out of your body. Did you know, though, that to be an effective stress reliever, you need to know how to do it the right way? That's right, there are two ways of breathing. One shallow and mostly moving air in the upper part of your chest, and one deep and low, filling your belly or reaching to your spine. Ensure that your belly button is moving. You can place your hand on your belly to make sure that's happening, and the air is coming in through your nostrils. Grounding is a self-soothing skill to use when you're having a bad day or dealing with a lot of stress, overwhelming feelings, or intense anxiety. It's a technique that helps keep you in the present and reorient to the here and now. It can also serve as a distraction from the difficulties that you're dealing with. The term grounding is used to make you feel present in your body and connected. We usually find well-grounded people to be sensible and reasonable. You feel clear, centered, and focused. On the slide, we have 4 pictures of ideas for grounding, and there are a few more on the next as well. The first picture shows someone's bare feet on the ground. That's because one of the easiest things to do for yourself is just to take off your shoes and socks. Walking barefoot can cue some people to shift in perception. It's a simple thing to do. The next picture is of different kinds of textures. Think about the things that we touch. Tactile experiences can also cue us back to reality. That's why having a pet is sometimes so therapeutic. Petting the cat or dog's fur is soothing, but sometimes exploring different kinds of surfaces, a worry stone, a fidget, a bit of rough burlap or corduroy can be grounding. You will notice the pictures of the arms crossed, thumbs hooked, and the fingertips gently touching the collarbone. This picture shows a pose for a technique called the butterfly hug. The person gently taps the fingertips of each hand alternately for about 30 seconds, like a butterfly's wings, and this also has a calming effect on the nervous system. The last picture is of a calm down box. These are meant to encourage independent play and self-regulation. What you want to do is make sure that your child likes what's inside. Make sure that all items are age appropriate. Appeal to their senses, touch, smell, sight, and we don't include screen time in our self-soothing boxes. Another simple grounding technique to teach our children is 5-4-3-2-1. 5 things they can see, 4 things they can touch, 3 things they can hear, 2 things they can smell, and 1 thing they can taste. This is an easy thing to teach in a car or in a waiting room. Another technique that can be practiced just about anywhere are finger holds. Practicing finger holds can help to manage emotions and stress. Hold each finger in turn with the other hand, holding for as long as it feels comfortable. Hold gently but firmly. As you hold your finger, breathe in the way that feels comfortable. Many adults feel relief after 2 to 5 minutes per finger. Children often need to hold their fingers for much less time, such as 30 seconds to a minute, for it to feel useful. This can help reduce anxiety.
Helping our children learn to be positive thinkers cannot be emphasized enough. Thinking positively is another skill we can help our children develop. Positive, happy, hopeful thoughts release chemicals that make you feel good. Your thought patterns can also have long-term effects. Repetitive negative thinking may promote the buildup of harmful deposits that are seen in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease. It may increase risk of dementia, according to a 2020 brain imaging study in Alzheimer's and dementia. On the slide are two pictures. One has ants. Dr. Amen calls these automatic negative thoughts ants, and he says you can have an ant infestation which will rob you of joy and keep you stuck in hurts from the past. Why are ants so harmful? Negative thoughts can cause your brain to immediately release chemicals that affect every cell in your body, making you feel bad. The opposite is also true. Positive, happy, hopeful thoughts release chemicals that can make you feel good. Your thought patterns can also have long-term effects. How do we get rid of ants? Well, you can write down automatic negative thoughts, and the act of writing down the ants helps get rid of the invaders from your head. Or you could try identifying what kind of ant species we're working with here. Dr. Amen lists 9. There's all or nothing ants, less than ants, just the bad ants, guilt-beating ants, labeling ants, fortune-telling ants, mind-reading ants, if only and I'll be happy when ants, blaming ants. Ask yourself when you have an ant if the thought is true. Ask yourself how you feel when you have the thought. And then make ant killing a daily habit. Killing ants takes practice. You can't just do it once and think you've mastered your thinking pattern. When you make it a daily practice, you'll feel freer, less anxious, and depressed, less trapped in hurt, pasts, and losses. The second picture is of a book called 3 Good Things. 3 Good Things was written by Erica Oliver. In her book, Erica shares how she and her husband turned their entire family life around by simply choosing to share 3 good things that happened throughout their day at dinner together. It can be a default to share the difficult things with one another, the hard things, the sucky things that happen throughout the day. But placing our attention and time around these negative experiences can help contribute to a negative outlook. You don't have to be sunshine and roses all the time, but like that penny on the ground, if you start looking for just 3 good things, maybe report them out loud to someone else as a practice, this can be a good thing. Model it with your child. This can also be done with problem solving. It's easiest to catastrophize and think the worst of an outcome. But what might be the best possible outcome of a decision? Help your child think through what might be good, better, and best. The second bullet here is identifying feel-good activities. You can create lists on the car rides together and share just simple things that make you happy. For instance, mine might include seeing birds on a telephone wire, or haystacks in the field, or the sound of the wind in the trees, or the waves on the beach. What might yours include? What might your child say? Supporting resilience is promoting independence, not doing for the child what the child could do for themselves, instilling confidence and competence. So just a few more hows. Be mindful of your phrasing and language. Some good resources for you might be to check out Chick Mormon, Conscious Discipline, or Love and Logic. Having a few go-to phrases can be really helpful when you get stuck in a disciplinary problem. So a few that I've tried in the past have been using the phrase next time. So the disaster's already happened, your child's upset, you're upset, everybody's upset. Sometimes going to the phrase, what could we do differently next time, can get us all unstuck. It takes the pressure off the situation and puts our focus on future and problem solving. Another might be if your child is being super helpless right now, like refusing to put on their boots or their coat or leave when it's time to leave. I don't know how is often something you might hear. So using the phrase act as if, suddenly just pretending can suddenly get them unstuck. Do you think you could act as if you could put on your coat? Or maybe you could play like mommy right now and put on the coat for me. Can you show me how I zip my coat? Suddenly they become little helpers instead of defiers. Another resource for you might be the website Elevating Childcare. They have some great ideas about respectful conversation along with hand-in-hand parenting. Just remember to instill an attitude of hopefulness. We never want our child to feel like they're always messing up. We want them to feel like there's always hope to do better. So our final takeaways. The things we'd probably emphasize the most is whenever possible, create real experiences together with your child. You want something concrete, hands-on, and sensorial, meaning they're taking in with all their senses, eyes, ears, hands, touch, taste. You want real experiences. And you want to start off doing things together. So modeling alongside your child, and then slowly breaking down responsibility or delegating smaller tasks and then getting to larger tasks so that eventually your child is doing these things alone by themselves. Having responsibilities is important. So don't forget to give your child a little responsibility. And then instilling this idea that they can do it for themselves and having confidence for them. The goal is to instill agency. Your child needs the opportunity to assume some responsibility, and then we need to give them some unsmothered space to take this task on by themselves. And if they mess up, it's okay. They get to try again. It's all just good fun. Remember to play. We need to have lots of opportunities, multiple opportunities, repeated practice over time, and this is how we build resilience together.